studying the Torah, we will find that every word is important. Sometimes even the very letter is important. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day 1 of the Torah portion, Vayikra, meaning, and he called. And before you groan too loudly, thinking, oh no, we're going to go through all of those rituals and the details of sacrifices, and I just don't know what this has to do with anything about me in these days. Before you groan too loudly, let's understand that Vayikra is one of the most exciting, passionate, loving books in all of Scripture. You just have to know how to read it. And thankfully, he's beginning to teach us. So let's go into chapter 1 and read all of just verse 1, which says, And Yahweh called to Moshe and spoke to him from the tent of appointment. Now, let's just pause right there. There's a very important letter here. Actually, there are two important letters here. The first is the Vav. The Vav is what we translate and. You see a Vav in front of a Hebrew word. It typically means and. It's connecting the previous thought. What is the previous thought? This is the first word in the book of Leviticus, or Vayikra. We're talking now about connecting the very last part of Shemot, or Exodus, now with this opening statement. And that is to understand that Yah has just revealed his favor and acceptance of all of the work done to create for him the dwelling place. He has requested this. Israel has complied. Israel has successfully made everything according to Yah's design. Moshe has given his approval and blessed those who created it. Then Moshe has assembled it, put it all together into a functioning system of worship and honor and glorifying of the Most High. And Yah reveals that all is acceptable to him, all is set apart, all is as he has requested. And one could say, now that the house has been built, Yah moves in. At the end of Shemot, or Exodus chapter number 40, we read how that the cloud of the pillar of fire and the pillar of cloud, by day came and resided over the entrance into this particular tent as it was constructed. And Yah, from that moment, and Yah called to Moshe, it says. Where was it coming from? It says, from the tent of appointment, from this tent that has been created. His voice, he said, would emanate, called to us from the mercy seat. So in the hinder part of this tent, over the area between the two cherubim that are positioned on the top of the Ark of the Covenant, there is what is known as the mercy seat. Out of a position of mercy, Yah calls to Moshe. And he has given to Moshe instructions about how his people can draw near. Now, there is a second word, or a second letter in this first word that appears, and that is the letter Aleph. This is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Aleph is here diminutive. That is, it is smaller in size compared to the rest of the letters. Whenever we see something out of the ordinary, the Torah is basically waving its hands at us and saying, pay attention. Look at this. The word Vayikra, Yikra, means to call. Yah is calling us. He is wanting us. He is beckoning us. Come to me. Approach me. Be close to me. Now that I have moved into this house that has been situated in the midst of you, don't stand off. Don't run and hide. Come to me. If you take the aleph away, you have the word Yikar. We would transliterate that Y-I-K-A-R. Yikar. That word means to happen upon. Without the aleph, then it's just a voice calling to whoever might want to hear. And the one who hears might come in any fashion that they might desire or presume acceptable. But when we have the aleph attached to this, the letter aleph references the strong one. Originally, it appeared in the ancient paleo form as the head of an ox, signifying strength or the strong one. Typically, we say that it references then Yah, our creator. And so it is Yah who is revealing himself. One might say in a bit of a, I don't want to say lesser form, another form, instead of at full measure. It's simple in my estimation how he is revealing himself in the right arm of his salvation, and the physical realm revelation of himself. We read in the book of Philippians that Yeshua emptied himself and took on the form of humanity. So this may be then a reference to Yeshua, because the 5 principal offerings that we study about in this particular portion, they all in unique ways reference what Yeshua has done for us. And we'll go through those. I've gone through those more in depth in previous years, so you can look back at previous years of this particular Torah portion. But let's understand this. Yah is calling. I had a particular incident to take place probably 20 years ago, I think, at this point. Early one morning, I had gotten out of bed and was kind of stumbling toward the bathroom to take a shower, and somewhere between the foot of the bed and the bathroom door, I heard the Father's voice speak very clearly to me and my morning brain fog and asked me the question, "How serious are you?" Well, obviously, from the tenor of that question, we're in the middle of a conversation. I just don't know that we're in the middle of a conversation. I'm not aware that we've been speaking, at least about anything that would promote or provoke such a question. I stand in the shower trying to clear my head and wonder, how do I answer this? Because I don't know what the subject is. Later on, I'm in the church building that I was pastoring in at the time, and in the middle of my prayer, I say something that I've been saying for a while: "Father, make me just like your son." Because in my estimation, being like Yeshua was the greatest thing available. And again, I heard the question, "How serious are you?" Now I know what the subject is, and I still don't know how to answer. I'm serious. I want to be like Yeshua, but then I'm thinking about all the suffering and endurance that Yeshua went through. Finally, the answer is, there's no one else to be like. Make me like your son. Yah is calling. He is calling to you. He's calling to me. He is speaking to us. He is beckoning us. He is yearning to be one with us. And he wants to present to us the protocols, the processes, the boundaries, the proprieties of how that we are to approach him. We don't just go running into his house and think we're going to jump in his lap. We're not barging in and making our petitions and requests known with a shaking of a fist. We're not hiding behind the door, afraid to say anything. We have a Father who loves us, who beckons to us, who wants to hear us. But he also says, "I will never be less than set apart. I will never be less than your Father. I will never be less than Yud He Vav He." And you must understand that. Therefore, you must approach me as I describe to you to do so. But when you do, I hear you and I accept you. We'll pick up here tomorrow. And until then, shalom.